Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new podcast called Blueprint Podcast. It's all under our Blueprint banner where we teach people how to be better at marketing. Super excited for the first episode. Today we have Doey from Sienna Beauty. Doey, how are you?
I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right, thanks very much. We are going to be talking something slightly different. Normally we kind of talk tactics around how to do a specific discipline, right? So it might be email marketing or social media, whatever it might be. But today we're going to talk to you about how you built a following and how you generated leads for your business, right? But before we jump in, I am Gary. I'm the creative director here at Capital Content. And obviously you started Sienna Beauty, 3 or 4 years ago?
Yes, it's been about 4.5 years now.
And what do you actually do?
So now we currently do a whole range of beauty treatments. So that's lash extensions, semi-permanent makeup, facials, laser hair removal, and
pretty much everything, right? And you say we, is it
yes.
is it you
so
or is it like
it's no longer just me. It
Cool.
used to be just me, but for the past 2 years, I've had my own salon.
Okay, great.
So now I have other girls working in the salon with me.
How was that? How was that transition from you, just yourself, I'm assuming starting in the bedroom,
Yes.
and then moving to like allowing other people to operate under your quality assurance, right? I had the problem where, it was just me in the living room on a desk trying to, hustle for my first job. And then I had staff and I had to make sure that the staff were doing a good enough job or what I would do, right? And it was really difficult to let go.
100%.
Did you have the same thing?
Definitely. And it's still very early days for me. It's been 2 years of having the salon and I feel like the first 2 years have been a trial run, to be completely honest.
It's a long time, right?
Yeah. It was me getting to know how other people are.
Yeah.
And I
just
think
having staff in general is really tough, right?
I think I set the standard really high on what I did myself. And
Good.
trying to get someone else to do that for you is very hard.
Yeah.
I was
and the
doing
way
it-
that you work and the way that you do things is always really difficult to try and say, well, no, actually, can you not?
Yeah.
It's a tough thing to do.
Yeah, which is what I really struggled with. I would say the hardest thing for me is trying to be, I guess, like a boss and who I am.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think really, right, and this is the problem that kind of small businesses have all the time, is that you started the business because you had a passion for doing all of this stuff, right? Your core business, your skills are doing lashes and skincare and all that kind of stuff, right? What your core business isn't is HR, and it isn't a finance manager, and it isn't a recruiter, right? You just want to carry on keeping doing the stuff that you really love doing. But then all of a sudden, as a small business owner, you forget and you don't do any of the stuff that you love, and you're just trying to get other people to do it. And you tend to lose touch. Well, not lose touch, but you tend to start just sitting in the back counting money.
Yeah.
And you kind of lose that passion for it. But I guess when you first started, you had, just like me, you had absolutely no work. You had no followers on social. And that's what I want to kind of talk about today, is that how did you generate an audience? How did you get in front of people to kind of build up that following? Because you've got a pretty big following at the moment, right? On Insta, would you say?
Yeah.
As a small business?
I suppose I think it's about 6.5.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing was from the very, very start, I created a brand for myself.
Right.
I didn't just, even though I was just doing lashes.
Yeah. When you say you create a brand for yourself, do you mean you were Sienna Beauty from day one, or did you start off, hey, I'm Doey, I'm doing this?
So at the very start, it was me. It then became Sienna Beauty. Sienna's my daughter.
Right.
But what I mean by brand is I knew what I wanted to specialize in.
Okay, cool.
And I knew what I wanted to be known for.
Right.
Before
so
it became,
you had a clear direction of where you were going to go.
It then became a personal brand very, very quickly.
Right.
But even without having that personal touch to it, I still feel that people can create a strong brand by knowing what they want to be known for.
You were totally right there. You had an absolute objective,
Yeah.
right? You knew where you were going to go.
Yeah.
Did you know, or did you have a thought behind you that you were going to have a salon? You know, like people and just be bigger?
No, not at all when I first started, because I was 7 months pregnant and
Right.
I'd been made redundant.
Gosh, at 7 months pregnant, You made redundant and you decided to start the business.
Yeah, because I've never not worked, and the thought of, having this baby and not having my own money and not having something there was like, I need to try.
You use it as a driver, right?
Yeah, it was definitely my driver, which is why it became Sienna Beauty, because in my mind, I was like, I would never have done this if it hadn't been for her.
Sure. Great driver, right?
Yeah.
So day one, right? You've opened up the Insta, you've set up a profile.
Yeah.
You've updated the your logo or whatever. What did you do? Did you start DMing people, or did you, I guess, how long ago was this? 4 years ago? Did you do the whole follow strategy from a few years ago?
It was very, very different to what Instagram is like now. Even with paid ads and things like that, it wasn't oversaturated. So it was
so
a lot
you did paid ads right from the beginning?
It was, yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So what I did first was make sure that the content that I did have was, I just... with my models and things, on my training day, I got lots of pictures.
That's a good start, actually.
Yeah.
That's a great tip. Is that almost, we're talking to another client at the moment where we're saying do like a showcase day.
Yeah.
Where you can get 3 or 4 girls in, do 3 or 4 different looks or different treatments or whatever, and smash that batch creation. Because that will give you an archive of content to be able to post right from day one. Let's say you do 3 posts a week. If you take 20 photos, mate, that's like 3 months worth of content.
Exactly.
Right?
And I still do that. I still do that now.
Yeah.
I will have girls who are my models or whatever you want to call them. And they'll be the people who I take loads of content with.
Yeah.
But essentially that's what I kind of just started off doing. I started doing the kind of like follow thing.
The classic strategy years ago.
Yeah, years ago. I would never do it now, but that's how I kind of started. But I needed to obviously have something to show for when people went onto my page.
Yes, that's always a challenge of when you first start a business, is that you don't have much. You don't have a showcase. You don't have anything. So how did you combat that challenge?
So that's when I used paid ads. I literally probably had some sets that were super, super cheap. I just got people in really, really cheap just because I had no idea where to get these clients from. Because where I didn't know anyone.
Good. Yeah. So you kind of did a lot of test beds, right?
Yeah.
You got that cheap, like you said, demographic, the subset to get in front of and to see if that worked. And then did you find some demographics worked and some didn't? Yeah,
no, it definitely did work. But like I said, back then it paid ads was a lot easier than what it is now. If I was to do what I was doing then, now you wouldn't get anything.
Right. You do you know what? You're totally right. And I spoke about this in a different episode. Is like you could actually attribute a sale from a paid ad, right? You could say, well, this paid ad actually returned X amount of revenue. But now it just doesn't work like that. I don't know about you, but I've never really interacted or bought anything through an ad. I think as consumers, we've become savvy to all these Facebook ads and Instagram ads. It's more of a brand awareness to say when I need my lashes done, that's on top of Sienna Beauty's top of mind.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it is now about storytelling, right?
Yeah,
and
definitely.
That follow the journey of you.
Exactly.
Because people relate to you rather than they relate to the logo. You know?
And that's what I did without even realizing that I did from the start, because I didn't have any content. I started to be quite personal, kind of follow me on my journey. It's new. Watch me practice. Look at me set up my place and stuff like that. It was like just little things like that. I was very, very active on social media. So when I did kind of follow people, they would see something. And because I had quite, at the time, it was a really good niche for me. Like it's now become very oversaturated.
Yeah, man, there's loads of it.
Probably, I do actually train people in lashes now, and I feel like I've trained the majority of the people in my area.
Okay,
cool. But at the time, I was traveling all the way into London for mine. There was like no one doing specifically what I was doing. Well, if they were, it was either, not on, the marketing wasn't good. They wasn't showcasing it very well. And they weren't local.
Right. So then you got content under your belt.
Yeah.
And you did a whole bunch of ads. Did that actually generate incoming leads? Did that, generate clients for you?
Yeah.
And did you then, what did you do then? Did you go, okay, cool, and just sit on your laurels, or did you kind of reinvest? Because a lot of people, once you've created the content, you then get the leads in, you then don't have much time or effort, or momentum to go and make more content or make more ads, because you're like, sweet, well, that worked, and now I'm busy. That's the problem that I have, is that I go out and do loads of advertising, loads of leads come in, and then I take my foot off the gas when I do the advertising. Is that what happened with you?
I would say that's kind of more what happened after getting the salon.
Right.
But
because that took a lot more time.
Yeah.
Right.
But leading up to the salon, and I think obviously that was why I was able to open a salon so quickly, and obviously during such a hard time, because it was COVID and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, you had literally everything against you.
Yeah, everything was against me. So for 2 years straight, I would say like it was non-stop. I didn't take any time.
It's funny, you start a business with the thought, I'm going to have more time with friends and family. It's literally the opposite. I work like 100 hours a day.
Yeah.
I literally have less time with family, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you want to be a business owner, I think there's a big difference between like a business owner and someone who's self-employed.
Yes.
Because
you're a business operator.
Yeah, because obviously I advertise lash courses and things like that, and I've had to be really careful about how I advertise it, because a lot of people who are training with me, they're not business owners. So yeah, to be honest, potentially with this, doing lashes, they can have a little bit more time and flexibility and time with family and friends. But if they want to operate a business, then no.
No. So, and when we talk about creating content and pushing it out over social, I'm assuming we're just talking about Instagram, right?
Yes.
Do you think that's where everybody sits, where your audience sits? Is it, I'm just thinking, let's say, for example, you're going to go buy a handbag, generalizing, right? Mm-hmm. I think for a handbag or for products like that, people actually would Google it and look at the website.
Yeah.
Whereas I think for beauty and aesthetics, I think you're more inclined to look at their Insta.
Definitely.
I think that's the first port of call, right? Why do you think that is? Why do you think people do go straight to Insta rather than the website?
I think because on Instagram, obviously, you can showcase so much more. If you have 1,000 pictures on your website,
yeah, you're right. It's not that engaging.
And you wouldn't want 1,000 pictures on your website. Whereas Instagram is a picture place. So
and it's obviously a regular thing as well.
Yeah.
Right? It's obviously it's a visual platform, right? Mm-hmm. But it is that real-time regular update of what's happening and what you've done in the last couple of days. Whereas a website, probably a bit tougher to update.
Yeah, you're not going to want to update that every day. Mm-hmm. Something that I did when I started to get quite busy, I would post on my story a lot, pretty much after every single client I did, to show people. And this was before kind of videos really blew up, and obviously TikTok and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I was doing that on my stories, which is again what other people weren't doing at the time, which is another reason why I think it just blew up so quickly. Because I had obviously all my perfect pictures on my Instagram to make it look
on
pretty.
The feed.
Yeah.
So when people, it's that reactive thing, right? Where they search for you, look at your feed, holy shit, some banging pictures.
Exactly.
But what you did is then you probably put the raw stuff on
non-edited videos on my stories, so then people could really see what
happened that day.
Yeah, what it looked like.
She's alive. She's working right now.
And people like that. And I think that's the difference between Instagram and a website. You won't be able to do that on a website. And I guess with products, you don't need to do that because that's your product.
Yeah.
There it is.
Did you, or do you, there's probably people out there at the moment, right, that don't want to be on camera.
Yeah.
Right. And yes, I guess you post of the, maybe the before and after, definitely at least the after on any of these products, right? Or procedures, or whatever it is. But have you been on camera? Do you go on camera and say, hey, everybody, check me out? Or is it purely just kind of the client side?
No, I think my business is just a very personal brand. I feel like that's one of the reasons why I've managed to kind of like build such a good following, and why people buy into the brand, because it is a personal brand. So I feel like for me, it's quite important. And I always notice when I'm a lot more active with showing myself and talking and just more personal things,
Yeah.
I get a lot more engagement and a lot more reach than if it is purely just business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think for this kind of product or this kind of, service that you're offering, it's repeat business, right? And client retention.
Yeah.
And the only way you retain is if you show the journey, like we spoke about earlier, tell that story. If you are constantly saying, "Oh, I got 10% off this," whatever, that becomes a transactional thing, and people don't tend to connect, right? What do you do? And you mentioned earlier, like the market is a bit saturated, right? You've trained everybody in your area, and now everybody you train is a competitor, right?
Yeah.
How do you differentiate yourself visually, right? Because, and I'm only looking at this face value, excuse the pun, from someone who doesn't know about lashes and skincare, right? When I search for beauty and aesthetics pages, they all look relatively similar.
Yeah.
They've all got, like, the last 9 photos are all like a close-up photo of lashes. How do you be different? I know we said about you and the story and stuff, but how do you take better or different photos? What do you have a trick that you try and be different from other people, or is it that's what people want to see,
It is just what people want to see. Like, this is a thing. It's what's working.
So you're saying your advice to people is actually don't worry about trying to be different, because
not necessarily. Obviously, I think it's really, really important that the content is good. And I think that's obviously what you were saying before about you see the same faces on some
so
pages.
Same people.
Yeah, same people,
Right, gotcha.
because they have pretty faces and they stand out.
Their mates.
Yeah. So say, obviously, if it's someone who's been following for ages, they'll know it's the same person. But if it's a new person, and you're trying to do things that capture their attention, and one of the things in beauty is that beauty sells. So anyone that's pretty is going to capture someone's attention.
What about the before? I was speaking to a potential client a couple of days ago, and they were saying they don't really like posting the before because the client doesn't necessarily want to be seen before, or makeup free or whatever. What are your thoughts on that?
And that's what I mean. That's why we end up having the same people, because they're okay with it.
Sure.
Not everybody is okay with it, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't force them to be, like, I'm gonna.
And that's why the same 3 girls that keep coming in and saying, "Hey, can I take a picture of your skin, please?"
Which is a difficult thing. But yeah, I do always try to get people to allow me to take the pictures. Yeah. But like I said, if you can't, then you can't.
I guess you got to always have that thought in your head, more content.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you take your foot off the gas, that's it. The momentum kind of stops. And if you don't think about taking a photo of a client during that week, then that's it. You've lost out on a week's worth of posts, right? And I think even if you don't use that image or that photo, it's okay. Yeah. Just at least take it.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Tips and tricks. What would you have done differently, do you think, when you first started? Is it because the following's pretty big? You're obviously doing well, successful wise in terms of staff and a salon and whatnot. Is there anything that you would do differently from an advertising or a marketing perspective, do you think?
It's really hard because I feel like I had a really, really good start, because it took off so quickly. Yeah. It went really, really well. I think for me, it's more the personal stuff, because I had no boundaries. I kind of let clients like walk all over me, and it was more like personal things like that, not the fact that I couldn't get the clients because there was too many. Yeah. That's a great problem to have, right? Because obviously I was 7 months pregnant when I started, and then I had my baby, and then I was a full-time mum of a newborn. So I physically couldn't do any more than what I was already doing.
Yeah. Space too as well, right?
So it grew so quickly. I struggled more because people kind of, took the piss, and I was starting to hate it at times because of you don't realize what customers can be like. Yeah. So it was, if that's the only thing that I would have done differently, just had those boundaries in place from the get-go. Cool. But I think with the marketing, it's not to take the foot off the pedal, basically.
Yeah, and I guess, and we've mentioned this before, it's actually don't try and fix something that isn't broken, right? Yeah. If other accounts are posting this kind of picture or this kind of image, that's what the demographic wants to see. So absolutely do that.
Exactly.
what actual tactics? Is there anything that you do on Insta? Is there any kind of like hacks that you do on Insta to try and get that additional reach? You know, are you tagging product brands that you use?
Yeah, sometimes, but I don't really find that helps massively. But another quick one, just on the tips for like content. I know you said, do you try and do anything different?
Mm-hmm.
I suppose the one thing that I do actually do different with, especially for lashes,
Mm-hmm.
is that I try to do quite outrageous styles that could be controversial, or you're either going to love it or you hate it.
Right. How do you mean?
So because you don't know anything about lashes, it's quite hard to explain, because the majority of the time, most girls will get the same thing, but I do a lot of different styles. So one of the things that I did, it was just like a fun thing that I did, and it was quite engaging with my audience as well. I wanted to create 10 new styles,
right?
Inspiration from strip lashes and things. So I got people to send me all these different images of strip lashes, because there's so many different styles of strip lashes.
Okay.
But really, when people get extensions, they only really get like a one type of style.
Okay.
So I did like these 10 different styles, but they were quite funky, quite different to, I guess, what people would get. And I would post things like that and get people to name them and start. I would be quite interactive with my audience.
Okay, cool. So you mean when people comment, let's say you ask them a question, or, you know, spot the difference, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If they commented, you're engaging with them? Yeah.
So, but I would do a lot of this on my story. I always found that this works a lot better on my stories.
It's probably functionally, it's a lot easier, right?
Exactly.
Especially the AMA stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
like the polls and things like that. But yeah, I would showcase all these different types of styles that I could do, which no one else was really doing. Because that's not what clients were asking for, but it's really good for attraction marketing because it makes you stand out.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't mean that you're going to get loads of clients that want that, but that stands out.
Yeah, yes, that's your USP. So do you dedicate a certain time, or do you just go right after a client, 10 minutes and you've posted or you interact or whatever? Or do you go right on a Thursday for 2 hours, I block my calendar out and I'm doing loads of social stuff? So
I do that more now.
Right.
Mondays is kind of like the day that I would do stuff like that. But before, I used to just do it as I went along.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I'm a lot more scheduled, just because there's so much more for me to do now.
Yeah. And that's probably the key thing, right? Is so you don't take your foot off the pedal. You do need to schedule time to go out and do it, or whether you use a scheduler and get those posts going up. But I think what you need to kind of keep your finger on a pulse is those stories.
Yeah.
I think they're actually really crucial. Yes, it's great having, like you said, the dope pictures actually on the feed itself, but unless you're showing real time, you know, if you go to a page and they haven't posted for 3 weeks, you lose that client straight away.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So you need that little red ring around your profile photo to show that actually shit's happening right now.
Exactly.
You know? I've learned loads. I'm definitely going to have some strip lashes put on. How do people get in touch with Sienna Beauty?
So mainly through Instagram. It's literally just _Sienna Beauty.
Cool, man. You're also actually on our event, Blueprint IRL, on September 15th. So you can be one of the panelists there, which is super exciting. Cool, man. So yeah, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, if anybody wants to get in touch, obviously you know the Instagram handle. Thanks for listening. You can listen to all our other episodes where you get your podcast injection from Spotify, Apple, or Google. Thanks so much for tuning in. I've been Gary, and this has been the Blueprint podcast. Catch you later.